Good morning, everyone. Gonna give it a few seconds, Lori, so that we can allow everybody to come in. Good morning to you.
Lauren, happy to see your smiling face. You know, everybody was, where's Lauren last week? So you'd be back, and you missed another great show. As always, we've been on a great roll, as well as today will be, and I've got some announcements on upcoming guests too.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm pretty excited. I think you're gonna love today's show, but then again, what show won't you love, right? We've been on a really good roll, Lori.
I know, and we're way over a year now. I remember when we just said, hey, let's try this idea out, but it's thanks to you guys and the frequent flyers that are here every single week. I always got to say a shout out to them as a thanks, and thank you to the people who are just now joining us. So I think our numbers are starting to roll. So Lauren, why don't you take it away?
All right, let's do it. Okay, everyone, give me a couple of seconds. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and get us started. Yep, Lori, is everything good on your side? Can you see my?
Yep, I can.
All right, let's go. Good morning again, everyone. My name is Lauren Simpson. I am with the SBDC. Welcome, welcome. The SBDC, or the Small Business Development Center, is a national program with over 1,000 locations across the country, and we offer no-cost services to local small businesses. Now, our services are at no cost to you because your tax dollars have already taken care of our fees. So why not partake in something amazing and free? So for the Los Angeles network, which is the network that I represent, we have locations throughout the Los Angeles, Santa Barbara, and Ventura counties. So that means we service the Los Angeles, Santa Barbara, and Ventura counties. If you are within any of those counties, you can see our locations, our center locations on the map in front of you. You'll see that we're as far out as Camarillo, over to Santa Clarita, all the way down to Pasadena, as well as in Laverne, and then throughout Los Angeles, the South Bay, as well as in Long Beach. Now that I've shown you our locations, here's why you'll want to get in contact with us. We offer no-cost business advising, and so you're able to meet one-on-one via phone or Zoom, which is our current in-person Zoom. Where you're able to meet with a business expert. And so you're able to meet with extremely intelligent and knowledgeable professionals in various walks of life. So it could be taxes, it could be marketing, it could be if you're trying to create a business plan. So regardless of what, and you might even have a chance to sit with our guru of numbers, Miss Lori Williams. So regardless of what stage you are in business, we can help you, whether you're trying to start or grow. We also offer virtual trainings, much like the session you have joined today. This session is a little bit more special because we're more of like a talk show, but we do have comprehensive workshops to help your business get started, adapt, and grow. Please get in contact with us today. We are ready to help you get started. If you'd like to reach us by phone, go to 866-588-7232. If you'd rather reach us online, go to smallbizla.org/new client. For those of you who have reached us outside of our service area, so that means you are outside of the Los Angeles, Santa Barbara, or Ventura counties, please go to americassbdc.org/find-your-SBDC. With that, Lori, I'm going to stop my screen share. Quick housekeeping. Let's be sure to put all questions into the Q&A, and then the chat will be reserved for any content and links that Lori would like to share with you. Lori, I'm going to kick it over to you.
Okay. And you know, I was going to say, Lauren, can you believe it's March 1st already? I don't know where the year went. And I also understand that there's a lot of bad weather. And isn't that old expression that March comes in like a lion and goes out like a lamb, right? So you guys hang in there. The bad weather is going to be done at the end of the March. I'm going to do weather forecasting as well from this point out. Okay, guys, let's get started here. I got a couple things to tell you. And as always, Lauren's going to be putting all this in the chat as we speak. It's tax time. Everybody's asking tax questions. So 2 questions I get asked a lot, and there's a lot of confusion about is, can I do a deduction for my home office, and can I deduct my car? So what I have is, I always tell you, you want to go straight to the horse's mouth. You want to go to the IRS website, not Joe Blog, who's got some information that he thinks he can get away with on his taxes. That's not where you get tax advice, guys. So if you're going to read up on it, you want to go to the IRS. These 2 links that Lauren's putting in the chat is going to give you more information about both of these types of deductions. Now, one thing I want to say is it's confusing, guys. It's not like there's a simple yes, no answer, but I don't think anybody will be totally shocked to hear that something within the IRS is confusing. You kind of know that. So I know when I talk with people, a lot of times they're hoping that it's just a yes, no, and it's a simple answer, but it's really not. It's always got an and, if, but, or. I remember when I was studying for my enrolled agent certification, which was not that long ago, I was reading the book and I was reading about whether a certain type of driving would be tax deductible. And it had literally in the documents from the IRS that says, well, if you actually enjoy driving the vehicle, it may not be a tax write-off like a Jeep. I'm like, oh my God, how much more confusing can this be? So my point is that these are not just simple yes, no. They are best answered from a CPA or an enrolled agent, but at least you can have some information behind these topics. Now, one thing you're going to notice is that it has rules where it can be deducted if it's business only, differently from if it's personal and business. And I have a lot of people who think just because they wrote it out of a business bank account, that makes it a deduction. I want to slap that myth and throw it out the door. The ways that deductions work is based on certain qualifications. Just the act of paying for it through your company, or they get these ideas, I'm going to sell my car to my company and that's going to make it a deduction. These are just crazy talk, guys. So here is the sites to go to get the actual information. Now, upcoming classes, I didn't get a chance to paste my March dates into this slide, but Lauren's got the March dates in the chat. So she's putting the updated March dates in, starting the financial literacy series again. Probably will be repeating this quite a bit. I'm getting 100 signups for each class. It's become quite a great success, as well as the legal structure and tax advantages, repeating that in April. So that's a heads up on those. And like I said, the actual links are going to be in the chat. Now, upcoming shows, we got great lineups. I'm going to give you just a glimpse of the next 3 weeks. So David Ronaldo came on early on, and he has a company called College Zoom. I actually worked with David when he first came up with the idea at USC. David's going to have to tell me, I think it's about 5-6 years he's been at it and doing very well with the company. So I've asked David to come back on and kind of give us an update. What have you learned now that you've been running the company for a while? And those of you who have joined us last week know that we did the same with Holly, and the conversations just take it to a whole new level. Information from a startup perspective as well as an existing business, because they're looking in the mirror and saying, if I knew then what I know now. And we're going to have another great conversation. Now, March 15th is going to be something I've been wanting to do for a long time. Clarissa Wilson is actually the bookkeeper for Holly. I met her through Holly, okay? And Clarissa does a QuickBooks Online, but it's one of the few times I have ever looked at a report and it's been correct. You guys have heard me on other webinars. I say I'm not a fan of QuickBooks Online. I'm not a fan at all of syncing the data. I never see the reports correct. So when I looked at Holly's reports and I met Clarissa, I'm like, why are these correct? What are you doing differently? And she's like, oh, I turn off all that automatic stuff. So I wanted Clarissa to come on and just have a general conversation. When you're doing your bookkeeping and for other clients, how are you doing it? What are you turning off? What are you checking? What are you reconciling? I think this is a really important discussion because I'm just seeing too many people doing QuickBooks Online, syncing the data. And as my mother used to have this old expression, just letting it run amok. I'm showing my age. And so I want to get some clarity on what you guys need to be considering. Now, Jeff Cunningham, I go back years. He was a private client of mine for over a decade, and he is the partner in medical asset management. And I'm going to let him tell about the company, but this is getting somebody on the show that's been at this for decades to really talk about how he got there and sustained the company through all the ebbs and flows and recessions and everything. So as you can see, we got some great information coming up on a variety of topics. And, lately I've been mentioning, if you or someone else wants to be a guest on the show, send Lauren an email. I am scheduling way far in advance, and I want to get my lineup for the whole year because it's pretty evident that we are here to stay. We're not going away. So I need to start getting in my talent searches early. So I really welcome anybody that you want to suggest, anybody anybody I should contact, something you want to know about, a subject matter. Please let me know so we can get people scheduled. Now, today is another interesting show. The topic, the headline is, which I think in itself, the headline makes it interesting, the ever-evolving landscape of digital media. Alex Vasquez is the co-founder and principal at DigiSavvy, where he oversees all aspects of the digital marketing and WordPress development, including marketing, agency operations, and business development. I know from getting feedback from so many in the audience, getting clients, your social media, your marketing, this is one of the key issues you deal with every day. So I try to get as many different people on the show to talk about this very important topic. Now, Alex has over 15 years of industry experience. He leads his clients through the ever-evolving landscape of digital media with, and this is Alex's word, a no-nonsense approach, which I like, utilizing best practices, which I'm always into, and unique solutions. That's really good too. And he wrote Eschewing Shiny and Useless Tools and Fruitless Strategies. Okay, that within itself just made me wonder what kind of topic can we have from there. So with that, I would like to welcome Alex to the show. Welcome, Alex.
That was a heck of an intro. I need to carry you with me everywhere so you can do my intros to everyone all the time. So I love that. Hello.
Hello there. I'm so excited. Now, one of the things I have to, I always take people a little bit off guard because I find out something about them, right? And then they don't know I know this. And then I say it. Like a couple of weeks ago, we talked about Sebastian, who came on to talk about finance, was actually in archaeology. So that was kind of the unique thing I had to start with. Now, what I heard about you from several people, you ready for this?
I don't know. I don't know. Let's go.
Everybody in the audience, I have been told again and again that Alex is funny.
Now, don't ask me to say funny stuff. I'm a funny person in real life, not on TV or anything. I don't know where you got that from. My mom says I'm a nice, good boy, and I thank her for that. And Don says nice things too when I pay him a few bucks. So.
Okay. Well, I heard you've got a funny sense of humor, and that made me laugh because I love to have fun, as everybody on the show knows. But let's start out, Alex, in your own words, instead of me putting words into your mouth like I've done already. Tell us a little bit about you. What do you do? How do you help clients? Where did it all begin? Did you come out of the womb say, I want to be involved in digital marketing?
I came out with a keyboard in hand. I'm like, let's start coding. So that's how I came into the world. Just yesterday, I celebrated my 9th year of being solo, of working on my own, having my agency. And, I never wanted to become I never wanted to be a business owner necessarily. Like that was never my trajectory. I always liked tinkering with technology, but I got laid off from a job, and a hobby that I had, it was writing code, and I never really did anything with it. I'd do projects for friends. And then I learned pretty quickly, I can start doing this stuff on a larger scale. I can start doing this stuff for businesses. And before I knew it, after being laid off, I had this sustainable kind of side hustle going. And so I had to make it a business, and it's been quite a journey. I never really expected to be here. Continuing to grow an agency and to continue to do work with people in this capacity, especially with digital marketing. It's kind of wild how things can happen unexpectedly.
It's so true. I always say that there's two reasons people go into business. It's inspiration or desperation. And for me, we're talking back in my 20s, just like last year, right? In my 20s, right? I started because I had a situation with a company when I was 23. I started my own business. I thought, I'm not going to let somebody else control my future. And now I've been at it over 30 some years. So it does start that way. Let's go with the words digital media and digital marketing, because I hear that word said so many times, and it means different things to different people. And so I always want to know, okay, if I say, hey, Alex, I want to buy some digital marketing, what are we talking about? Are we talking about Facebook? Are we talking about what? You take it from here. So what is it that we're going to discuss specific to digital marketing today that will help our audience, which consists of small companies desperately trying to increase their sales?
Yeah, it's a simple question with a complex answer. And I think there's a lot of different places that we can start from, right? So it really depends on the individual, on the business that we're working with. But when it comes to digital marketing, I think that there are dozens, many dozens of channels that we can utilize to shine a light on our business, to get more leads. And I think ultimately, that's one of the biggest goals. How do I get more people through the door? How do I get more people, submitting that inquiry form on my website? And so I think whenever I talk to someone, I listen to what their story is, where they're at. I listen for what they've tried before, and then we start, with whatever the goal is, right? Because I think a good strategy really is goal-based, and then we begin working backward from that. So that can include things. It can absolutely include, Facebook ads. That's definitely one dimension, one channel. Another part of it too is email marketing, the email side of it, which is often overlooked. And, so many people kind of think of email as an afterthought, when in fact, it's still one of the most powerful forms of digital marketing that a business can utilize. So there's a lot of areas to look at, and it's really easy to overwhelm someone with where to start, because you start talking about all these different things. And I think with digital marketing specifically, it's because we have all of these channels, let's figure out the one that's the most bite-sized, that provides the biggest impact within like a relatively short amount of time, but with some logical steps added to it. So there's a lot to it.
Now, you mentioned, starting with a goal strategy, and I'm going to start with that thought in mind, Alex. One of the things, and this could be my opinion only, or you give me your thoughts on it, but I feel as though from the traditional days before the internet, remember, I'm old, we're back here on the fact that I've been around a while, right? But we would do things like a flyer, or we would put an ad, and maybe we didn't get the return we wanted to, but we at least got some response. Where I feel like since we've opened up the internet and it's got this big whole, like you said, easy to overwhelm people. A lot of times I see small companies doing that old expression, just throwing a lot of spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks. I think that's a expression. People still know what I mean by that, right? So I feel as though maybe it's because, Alex, that people lost the art of a strategy and beginning with a strategy. Any thoughts on that our audience can pick up on, some lessons about starting with a strategy first so you can be effective in whatever you do?
Yeah, no, that's an excellent point. And I can definitely relate to like throwing spaghetti at the wall, right? Like, I think trying to figure out what sticks, like if we start with some goals, we work back from that, like I mentioned earlier. Part of that can be like, okay, me as a business owner, surveying the different, like if I'm trying to get some visibility on what I'm doing first, right? Like I'm trying to build visibility, not necessarily trying to draw leads, like that's going to come. But if I want to shine a light on my business, I ask people like, where do you currently live online? Where do you spend time online? Where do you get interactions? And, sometimes that can be from someone's personal Facebook account rather than like just a business Facebook page. It can be like a personal Instagram account where they have like a high level of interactivity with the people that they follow, and they could be friends or family or what have you, right? But I think developing to raise awareness in service of getting more leads, I think it's starting simple. So I think that once we identify a strategy, we start working backward with different tactics. And I think that we make a plan. So that plan is, we start by raising awareness on the accounts that we already use. And then maybe like a secondary piece to that is, creating some sort of value, some sort of valuable freebie or something like that people can download. And maybe, we ask for the emails, right? So that we can market to these people later on, on a platform that we own. Because, like getting it, I'll probably talk about email a lot. So you can tell me, Stock, we know you love email. But, the reason why I love it is just because someone handing you that email is such a strong signal for permissive marketing. So I think, marketing your business is a marathon. I hate using cliches, but it's not just a 5K. We have to be methodical. We have to train, and we have to not only try out different tactics, but we have to measure the things that we're doing too.
I agree with you on the emails being key. So this goes back some time ago, because it's when I was doing a lot of on-site versus, through webinars, et cetera.
Yeah.
But when the internet first became a popular forum and email became popular, I used to say, I speak for emails. And what I meant is I would give a free speech at a business organization if they would give me their email list, because I saw that as the key to selling my ebooks, et cetera. And so at the end of my little game, if you will, I had collected 10,000 emails. I was amazed myself at the database that I had. And that really was what enabled me to grow the company. So I see emails being an important part, at least they were there. I'd like to ask a question about the freebie, the downloads to get the emails. Alex, I know that's something that's been around really since we started, and I am not in touch with digital marketing at all to that level. And I'm wondering, is it still the same? Are the people, meaning the customers, the clients, the potential people, are they still apt to go download? Do they download certain things versus other things? Are they more apt to download if it's on this platform? So has anything changed, or is there any gems to the concept of have a freebie offer to obtain an email? Is there anything we can add over the time period that you've noticed or find works very well that our audience can learn about?
So I think the tools that we use to collect this are largely the same. The platforms, even though they're more numerous today than they ever have been, still, the final result is the same. The final piece of technology that enables that capture of the email is the same. I think what is different, or at least how I perceive it to be different, is, if we want to get that email, we really have to think about value first. It's not getting the email first, it's providing the value. How can we serve our customers? How can we deliver value? And if we focus as business owners, if we focus on that area of providing service, being of service and providing value, the rest kind of works itself out. Because I think if we're working to serve our customers, if we're working to provide value, we have an understanding inherently of what problems they face. And if we can offer something that's free and actionable, and it doesn't have to be like a 50-page ebook, right? It could be something as simple as a Google spreadsheet that kind of shows you how to set up like a tagging strategy, for your various online platforms. So, it doesn't have to be like this thing that you spend, tens or hundreds of hours on. So that's what I have to say there.
It's probably the shorter, the better. I noticed that, especially writing, that when you say something like the top 5 or the 10 ways, it sounds so silly, but it does seem to make a difference. If you give somebody a checklist type thing, they find more value than if you give them a book. I guess it's our give me some quick actionable item type mentality that we live in, the sound bite mentality. Everybody wants the simple answer, just like at the beginning when I said business and use of car. If I could say, here's the top 5 things, unfortunately the IRS doesn't see things as simple, but that is more of an interest to them. Do you find that checklist, or even the words checklist or the words top X, does make a difference in getting people to want to download something?
Absolutely. I think if you can give someone a kind of like a bite-sized task, something that they can handle, they're more likely to do it. And it's something that I've tested before, because I've created webinars and I've created lengthy ebooks, and the things that tend to perform well are the simple single tactical things or downloads, like and I think, and that's something that I've observed with clients too. I believe that I know as business owners, it can be really difficult to work on the business because we're always working in the business. I think one way to kind of break from that, and this has to do with making downloads that people want, is to really focus on the simple, smallest unit that that you can commit to, and commit to doing it and be done with it. And I think if you can take that idea and turn it into some sort of free resource that people can get, you're going to find a lot more success with that.
Well, and what we're speaking a lot works well to service-based companies. I'm going to go to product in a second. And one of the things I remember early on is that I was walking through a Costco, of all things, right? I haven't been in Costco's in years, so that says how long ago it was. But there was this woman that had a table and was giving away cookie samples. And it was right when my ebooks came out. And I noticed how people were biting the cookies and then buying the cookies. And I thought, I sure wish that I could give a cookie sample. And then I realized I sell intellect. I can give a sample. And what I really like that you said, and Lauren, throw this in the chat for everybody, for those that have a service-based company, try to give something tactical. If you give them tactical action steps, they may be more apt to download and then further the communication with you. Now, when we talk about products, Alex, is it a coupon, or is it demonstrating a video? Is there anything that you see really stands out more than another, or any difference when we talk about a product offering?
Sure. So with product offerings, it is a little different. I think that depending on the kind of products, different types of offers work well. I think with respect to online retailers, specifically clothing retailers, I have a women's clothing manufacturer that I work with, and something that's been effective for them in building their list is offering a coupon for 5 or 10% off their next purchase, and that's absolutely something that has worked across the board. And I think that's like a really low hanging fruit. Like if you're selling a good online, if you're selling products online, I think that's like a really easy low hanging fruit to build that list, because there's just so much value as you build your list of customers and contacts. So that's something that I think that's really good. I think if you're selling like a digital product, it's a little bit different. Like you can still incentivize that initial purchase, but I think that if you can provide like easy to set up demos of the product offering that you have, that can be a way to build trust. So I think if you can build and demonstrate trust, if you can provide immediate value through products, that I think that's one of the unique aspects of a product, is that you can provide something that will have an immediate value to the customer.
Gotcha. Now I'm going to ask a kind of I don't want to say tricky question, but it's something I've been thinking about, Alex. You know, in the last couple years, and I'm not getting political at all, but there has been so many things where suddenly maybe this is not offered on this platform, and then this platform's bought by somebody else, and then this platform does this, and then this platform does this. So what it made me think about, Alex, and wonder is like, when you're building your customer base on a platform other than your own website, I started to wonder if you take somewhat of a risk, because depending on that platform's future, your entire contact could be questionably eliminated or reduced or something like that. So I started wondering if digital media people are trying to make sure customers are safe based on platform potential changes, not any specific ones in it, but you know what I'm asking by that, Alex? Is that a thought?
Yeah. No, and I love the question. It's something that's actually really personal to me. So one of the things that you mentioned during my introduction is you mentioned that I work a lot with a platform called WordPress, which is a web publishing platform. Right. You can use it for blogs, for e-commerce, for all sorts of stuff. It's one of the most widely used platforms out there. The reason why this matters to me is because WordPress as a platform is open source, and that means that no one really owns it. You can use it however you want. You can use it on your own website. The platform is yours and you control it. And with that said, you know, there's kind of a trade-off, because you own the platform, there's a lot more to know. And I think anyone who's had to wrangle with it understands that. So that freedom kind of means that you need to learn a lot more stuff than maybe you want to, because you'd rather be focusing on your business. So I think that having ownership of our platform where we create our content really is important. It's not something that will always come into play, but you never know when the platform that you've kind of built your business on top of, you know, like let's say Shopify were to get bought out by Adobe or something like that. Unlikely, probably never happen. But, you know, if Adobe is like, well, you know what, we have our own Adobe Commerce program, so we're going to just kind of roll all the customers over to it. And you don't know what that experience is going to be like. And ultimately, when we use platforms like this, like Shopify or any other platform we're building businesses on, you know, there is an inherent risk. However unlikely, but I'm a big proponent of owning your platform as much as it makes sense, as much as you're able to dedicate time and resources to.
I think that's a very good discussion. I like your answer. I mean, I don't see many people talking about it. I tend to think that way because I guess possibly I'm a control freak. I call them points of vulnerability, right? If there is a point of vulnerability in my life, I want control over it. That's basically the way I look at it. And I think about it when we go back, Alex, to the phone numbers. Remember when portability, I think was the word they used, if I remember. Yeah. We got to keep our phone numbers. Before, we were, you know, just subject to whatever the carrier's terms were because we wanted to not lose the phone number. So I kind of see when we get too, you know, on somebody's platform, we possibly have that portability issue again with all our customers, which makes it a little bit even worse. So my next challenging question, but not as challenging. So whenever I have people talk about social media, they have comments such as, well, when you're choosing a platform and you're looking at your company, you say, well, if I want to, and I'm just going to say things that maybe not true, but you'll get where I'm going. They make distinctions like Facebook has an older crowd, Instagram has a younger crowd, and all this. Are those norms true? Can somebody make that into a black and white, say, hey, I want to sell the gray hair, so I'm not going to be on Instagram? Or is there not that totally cut dry truth about those, as you say?
That is a challenging question. I think that it's really easy to have assumptions about these different platforms. However, that said, I think you always have to look at the data first. And I think like if you really want to know if a platform is right for you or not, you have to spend some time on it. You have to spend a few months on a platform and looking at the numbers, right? Because we can do something on Facebook, we can target different age groups, all sorts of demographics to figure out like, okay, well, this is how these ads are performing, and let the data tell you the story, right? That's how I look at it, because I do think that there are certain platforms that are probably a little bit better for specific types of content, like Instagram and Pinterest, I think are great for image heavy content, content that has a lot of images, especially for online clothing retailers. I think both of those platforms are super valuable to each, to that type of commerce. I think that if you want to build thought leadership or expertise, LinkedIn is definitely one of the platforms to go with. But that said, I think pick the platforms that you feel comfortable with. Start with those, test the numbers out, and see what your analytics tell you. And when you feel comfortable in those, maybe try another network that you have an assumption about and test that assumption. See what happens. Maybe you're right, maybe you're wrong.
You know what? I love the couple words you use. First of all, anytime somebody says data, I've been told by numerous people in my life that data is my favorite word. And I tell them no, choice is my favorite word. But then if I study data, it gives me better choices. So it all ties together, right? But you said test, you said data, you said analytics, all very favorable things for me, especially being finance, because my issue is when people throw all this money into social media, their sales maybe went up, but their profits didn't. That's a whole story from there. But Alex, can we circle back and talk to the audience a little bit about, maybe I'll ask a question, you answer it the way it should be answered, but maybe the minimum analytics or what they should do to do analytics, because I wouldn't know even what I should be looking at. And maybe some of the people in the audience don't either. So for us to know we're getting somewhere, what do we look at? What data can we find? What data can we research? What do we need to know?
So I think there's a lot of data there. I think a lot of it depends on what specific channel you're measuring. I think when it comes to your website, starting very simply, looking at analytics that your website provider provides you. But I think that the best option there is to use Google Analytics. It's free. And that's one metric. And specific to that, you're looking at refers, you're looking at pages on your site that people are visiting. It doesn't really tell you much about keywords or anything like that, which is kind of frustrating. But so in a way, you can see some information, but you're still kind of fighting in the dark, so to speak, to figure out like why it is that people are coming to your website. I think if you're using something like Instagram, looking at the performance of your individual posts, like how many impressions is important, how many times people are saving posts or sharing your posts, I think is a good indication as to the types of content that might do well with your followers, with your specific audience. And, in a way, Facebook is somewhat similar with its analytics. So I think in general, what we're looking for is we're looking to see what types of content is generating interest and clicks. And if we can replicate more of that types or drill deeper or create something valuable for that type of content that people are responding to, that kind of gives us some information that we can create content that we know that people are going to like.
Gotcha. Here's a one that take this question with wherever it makes sense to go once again. Where I get this question from, Alex, is because, I'm always dealing with people's finance, and then the conversation starts out with, I did X and my sales increased, or they didn't increase, or this worked, or this worked. Now, I'm not drilling down on that. I'm looking at the numbers. But what I find interesting is in those conversations, I almost feel like I get at the end of the week all these contradicting statements. Now, these are facts. I have some people say, well, you know what? I paid for Facebook ads and I didn't get anything. Then the next call would be, I paid for Facebook ads and they worked really well. And then the next one, Instagram, it's like all over the place. I'm not detailing and drilling down, Alex, but I'm just noticing that it seems like sometimes it works, sometimes it isn't. Any rules of thumbs or thoughts on that you can help with our audience to know?
So I think with respect to ads, it does take time. Like you're not likely to get a lot of information after 1 month. And I think that it's something that does require, 30 to 60, even 90 days to kind of figure out like how your ads are performing, but you have to make iterative changes along the way. What do I mean by that? Like, you can run an ad for a week, look at the performance on it, and then maybe try a different ad with different copy, different text, and different imagery, and then compare it to the week previous, compare ads to one another. And really we're trying to optimize ads, like taking our old ad, comparing it against a newer variation to see, how they perform. And the idea is to continually optimize. And I think after, 60 or 90 days, you get a pretty good idea of what performs well, what doesn't perform well. And I think that for a lot of folks, sometimes budget can be an issue. It's a lot of information to have to work with on your own, especially when you have other aspects of your business to run. But, I advise being patient and, continually looking at the data, continually making iterations to the ads. And I think that's something that will show returns over time. It's just, it's kind of a patience game. I think the larger your business is, the more immediate impacts you can see. If your business is smaller, it's been my experience that it tends to take longer to see valuable trends with your marketing dollars.
Gotcha. And I'm going to go to a question for another question that, but before I do, someone from our audience wants to know the name of the analytics that you mentioned a bit ago. It was Google Analytics, and was there something else you had mentioned?
Well, so Google Analytics is the primary one that I would mention. And that one is free and it provides a lot of information. And the other thing that's really great about it is you can set up goals. So when someone takes an action, like submits a form and ends up on a thank you page, you can track that as a conversion. You can also track sales as well. So it can be an all-in-one dashboard for not only site performance and traffic, but also for conversion metrics too.
Gotcha. Now, we were speaking a minute ago about having the patience, and this is always a challenge for people, Alex, I know, financially, because they say, okay, I want to be patient enough so I don't stop it before it just starts to work, but then I don't want to keep throwing good money after bad, So is there any, and this is, I know, a very challenging question for everything in life. When do you know it's needs a little bit more time? How do you set times? Do you do it in advance? Do you say, I'm going to give this a month and then I'm going to do it? Does your results help you to know? How do you get where you're not stuck in that, where I just kept going down the road thinking it was going to be worked, and then I realized I wasted all this money? I hear so many people give me that sentence. How do you keep away to the best you can from having that sentence be part of your story?
That's a good question. I think it has to, I think it, I think it's important to say, like, okay, I'm going to give this 30 days, I'm going to give it 90 days. But we have to, again, we have to commit to looking at our data, and we have to commit to making changes. I think that, after, because I still think like a month is not a lot of time to figure out if something is really effective or not. But I think if you can, if you have an idea of what your ideal goal is, like you have a SMART goal that you've set up, I think that if you know what that goal is, and you have this horizon of time, right? Like where you're saying 30 days to 60 days, and you're not getting anywhere near it, like you're more than 50% off, then, I think that's a pretty good indicator that, maybe we need to change our strategy. Maybe we just need to change the ads altogether, or maybe we just need to test a different channel. I think that, there's a book by this guy named Gabriel Weinberg. It's called Traction. There are different business books called Traction, but the one that I'm talking about is written by Gabriel Weinberg, and he has a concept of just setting up like simple middle ring tests, which you can use on various channels. And I think for paid ads, like being able to say, okay, 60 days, we're going to give this. We're going to give it X amount of budget, and this needs to generate X number of sales or X number of conversions. And I think that if you're hitting 50% or less, then that strategy needs a review, possibly to just revamp what you're doing, or possibly to just move on to the next channel.
And you know what I love about what you said, Alex, and us finance people do it all the time. We do what we call percentages, of progress. I do statistical probability. If I've done something for a month and I'm only 10% achieving a goal, I might say, hey, you know what, it doesn't have a chance, versus 50% or 70%. So what I think one of the little gems is doing a percentage analysis of where you are percentage wise in your goal within maybe a weekly check. So way you see trends, and you're not just kind of taking and putting your head down or burying your head in the sand, waiting for 30 days. You're looking at it. So I love the concept of progress. I'm going to go back and ask a real quick question, or a notice I had on websites. I remember when websites first came into existence, once again, been around for a while. We threw so much copy in it, Alex. You would pull up that website. It would take a while to load, but by the time you did, there wasn't a white spot to be seen on that page. It was like everything I could possibly tell you about my company, myself, I'm going to put in there. Then all of a sudden, the websites became a little bit more stark. Then they became where it's a video and I got to watch the video. I've seen this progression, right? And it's made me always wonder, is there the right fit? Are we basing it on the patience of people to go to a website? What's the rules today? Because I remember when the videos first came in, it was internet's not fast enough, don't have a video. But I know that's old news. So is there anything about the aesthetics and layouts of websites that are shown to work more so than not?
So, oh my gosh, that's such a good question. So me being a longtime comic book reader, for Western readers, we always scan books, comic books in particular, from left to right, diagonally down to the left and back to the right. So kind of like a Z formation all the way down. Websites are the same. So I think that, keeping in mind for a Western audience, we tend to scan from left to right. That upper right-hand corner is going to be the most valuable real estate on your page. So that better contain a button, a call to action to do the one single thing that you want them to do, right? And I think with web pages, there's a primary goal, there's likely a secondary goal, and I think it's important to be mindful of what the goal of every page is. So, and usually that goal is call me. Like for me, for my website, I want you to call me. Simple as that. Book a call. I don't care if you do anything else. Like if I have a single button on my page that says talk to me, like that's as simple as I might consider going. But I've noticed this trend that you speak of. And I think that if I could distill it down, be clear, right? Like be clear in favor of being clever. You can have a really clever, catchy tagline, but you got to let people know what you do, who you do it for, and why they want it. So I think that with respect to a layout, just, put your value proposition up there, make it crystal clear, and make it super easy for people to contact you. Don't make people think.
Okay, that makes sense. So here's an interesting question that I know a lot of people ask too. They're looking at their budget and they're wondering if they can just DIY, do it yourself, right? And I think rather than asking a question like, can I do it myself? Because of course you can. The answer would be yes to that, right? Alex, I find the question a little bit more interesting to say, if I go to somebody that is a professional, what different experience will I receive? What would their expertise allow? Just like if somebody says to me, can I do my own taxes? Well, yeah, you can do your own taxes. There's no law that says you can't. But if you go to a professional, you're going to be more up to date on certain tax applications, certain deductions. That is just not a simple answer. That's how, that's my little simple answer to tell you what I'm asking. Yeah. So when people say, should I go to somebody to get help? I'd like to ask the question by what would they experience that they may not if they did it themselves?
So again, a great question. I think one of the things going to working with an accountant, right? Like I have an accountant that I work with. Like he looks at this stuff all the time. The dude loves numbers. He loves tax laws and regulations. He is such a nerd, which is strange coming from me, also a nerd. But that's the thing that he gets out of bed for. Like he loves it. I will never love taxes. I will never love regulations and all the deduction. I will never love that stuff as much as that man does. And, if I can hire a person to do what they love to do, it shows, because that person's going to be communicative with me. That person's going to advise me on ins and outs, things that I don't even think about. So with respect to marketing, you absolutely can do it yourself. Do you love marketing? Do you love spending hours like Googling stuff? Like, what is an SEO meta tag title thing? No, you don't love it. I do. Hire me to do that stuff. Like, I think that when you hire someone to do bespoke work for you, you as the consumer, as the customer, you're going to understand the things that you need to understand. You're going to know the things that you're going to know. And I think that, while all of us professionals work differently, I think the idea is we do something that we love to do. We love providing value. So I think education's a heavy part of that process. And sometimes it's done for you. You work with a consultant, they do all the stuff for you, which is cool. It's great. Like you can set it and forget it. I find it's more compelling when things are done with you, when you can bring the client or the customer into the experience, do workshops with them so that in effect, you're empowering them along the way. I think that's another great way to connect with your customers too. So
to me, I mean, maybe it's just me not being involved in it, but I feel like I'm going to say the complexity or the layers has evolved over the decade, where, like you said, meta tags and everything. It used to be just stick something up there. And now I feel like got a lot more complexity, a lot more involvement, where the expertise definitely would pay off. Okay, so that was an awesome answer, Alex. I'm going to go on the same vein of thought. So I have a lot of times people ask me, especially through the SBDC, can you refer a CPA? Which, we don't refer CPAs through the SBDC, right? So I tell them, no, I can't. But what I can do, which is actually maybe even better, is give you an understanding understanding of when you're interviewing people, what kind of questions to ask and what to look for, so you can identify whether somebody maybe knows what they're talking about, so to speak, right? Now, in the digital marketing world, Alex, I just see a lot of, the clients, like I said, just talk to me about it, even though I'm not focusing on it, where they really didn't know what they were getting. They didn't get a proposal. Some of them did get a proposal. Some of them didn't know what they were actually purchasing, etc. So I have to believe it's kind of a wild west, and you may get different type of professional levels depending on who you're hiring. Any inside information that you can give somebody when they are searching for somebody to help them, clues to look out for, or ways to ask questions to make sure they're getting that right fit?
So I love that question too. I think, working through the SBDC, advising folks, I've seen a lot of unfortunate dealings that people have had to go through, and it's frustrating because it puts a stain on the profession, on people like myself. So what I advise people to do is, watch for the kind of lingo that they use. Do you understand what they're talking to you about? Because, in that introductory call, like if they're just throwing lingo at you, that may be an indicator that, this person may not be the best partner to work with. So I think being able to talk to people, or getting them to explain things in a manner that you understand, that you feel comfortable with the information that you're being told, is number one. I think number two, anyone who works in this profession has worked with any number of clients, and I think being able to have access to some of these clients is helpful, to be able to have those discussions, to say, how was this person to work with? What sort of performance did you get? Did you get what you felt that you paid for? And also, I think that, and this is something that's really personal to me too. I think if you are working with a digital marketing company, what kind of digital marketing do they do for themselves? And I think that's key too, because I get approached and pitched so many different services from different types of marketing companies, and I always take a moment and I look and I'm like, do these people, produce the type of content, or the type of value that for themselves that they say that they're going to give to me? So that's always an indicator too, as far as who you're working with.
Another great answer. What I really like about our conversation today is I feel like we gave the audience a lot of thoughts and concepts and tools to apply. You can't go on a talk show with 52 people at one point on here and say, this is what you should do. But what we did talk about today was just different approaches. But now, to everybody in the audience, I saved the best to last. Do you want to know something else, guys? Alex is an advisor at the Pasadena SBDC. Shout out to the Pasadena SBDC. So do you know what that means? You got Alex's contact, you got Lauren's contact. If Annie's on there, which she usually is, she'll put her contact in, who is at the Pasadena SBDC. You want to have a conversation with Alex, learn more about how to specifically apply to your company. It's like Lauren says at the beginning, your tax dollars at work. It's no charge to you, and we got a ton of expertise, and Alex is just another example. And I'm really excited, Alex, having you on today, because I've seen your name. I am also, as many know, a part of a Pasadena SBDC. It's a place that I actually love and I call my home a lot. And I've seen your name, but we never got to meet each other. So, I always like to meet people by putting them on public display. I always figure that's a really great way to have an introduction to somebody. And you were just fabulous. So thank you for coming on the show today.
Well, Lori, thank you so much for having me. I think it is a crime that you and I have not met face-to-face sooner. And Annie's on this call. Annie, you need to tell Dawn to make this in-person thing happen. I know we got a Zoom coming up, but you got to make it happen sooner, because, yeah, it's a crime that you and I have not met face-to-face.
Absolutely. Well, Lauren, I'm going to invite you back on to close us up for today. And I want to thank all those frequent flyers that are here all the time and the audience that is new. Welcome, welcome. We've got several great shows coming up. Like you said, like Lauren, we always call them a great show, but they are. And they're great shows because of you, the audience, and you guys, the guests. Thank you again, Alex. And Lauren, any last thoughts you want to throw out there? I know you and Alex know each other from way back, you found during this, didn't you?
We do. Like, it's such a small world. That's so insane.
I love it so much. I saw the email. I'm like, wait a second. I just talked to this person a couple weeks ago. So I love it. I love it.
100%. Lori, I think we should end it with one of our comments in the chat. It says, "This was my first time with the SBDC webinar. I am so happy I came. I was so engaged and learned so much. Thank you for helping us in such a fun and energetic way. Amazing job, Alex and Lori." So Giovanna, thank you so much. Make sure you come back every Wednesday. We'll be here. And thank you to you, Lori, as well as you, Alex.
Lauren,
well, thank you all for having me.
I don't always get to see the chat, as you guys know. I see it going there and I see the thank yous and everything. And so it's always wonderful to hear from you guys. You know, it's my goal to be a talk show host and I'm waiting for Oprah to call me. I always say that. So if anybody out there knows Oprah or someone else, I'm trying to be famous. Call me. Isn't that how they do it in Hollywood, Lauren? Call me, right? I got that down. Okay, I'm out of here, guys. Thank you, Alex. I'll see everybody next week on Small Biz Talk with your host, Lori Williams. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys. Take care. All right, everyone, I'm going to hang back to make sure you get the info in the chat. Be sure to collect the contact information for Alex. And then I've also dropped my email in a couple of times. Here, let me re-put in Alex's info so that you can get to know him better. Remember, he is with our Pasadena SBDC Center. Thank you so much, Annie, for being on, and any other SBDC colleagues. Thank you so much for joining us. If you are a current client of Alex, I think I saw one in here saying thank you. I think it was Marty, actually. Or looking to be a client of any one of our SBDC advisors, please be sure to get in contact with us. We've got tons of resources available to you. Let me go ahead and put my email in there one more time. There you go. And please know that our recording for this session will be added to our YouTube playlist by the end of the week. If you are looking to receive that recording prior to, please be sure to give me shoot me an email and I'll get it to you. Oh, I see you, Kanisha. Let Oprah come to you. She's coming. All right, everyone, you guys take care and have a wonderful week. We'll see you next week for another episode of Small Biz Talk, solutions for your small business. Take care. Bye.